Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose, and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to the Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life.
What's happened in your life that you could look back on and find a gift? What's happened where you have learned something about yourself or other people that truly can make a difference in you moving forward, in finding yourself and in sharing you in the world in a way that others can learn and grow from your experiences? Where have you been at the bottom, where you felt broken or maybe without direction? Those are the times that really can help us learn so much about ourselves, but more importantly, learn about the world and the people in the world, especially those around us that are experiencing very similar things. And we can use those experiences, we can use those circumstances to help ourselves grow and expand in a way that we then can help others pick themselves up exactly the way that we did. We can help them see the magnificence of who they are. We can help them see their capabilities and help them understand just how amazing they are. I'm with Jefferson Rogers today, CEO, author, podcast host. Jefferson is not afraid to admit that he did not like who he was 10 years ago, broke, directionless, and irresponsible. He had hit rock bottom and had no idea what it could look like to turn his life around. Fast forward now to 2021, and Jefferson's the head of JKR Windows, a multi-million-dollar company that he built from scratch in just 4 years. With his company recently named the fastest growing replacement window company in Utah, Jefferson is a living success story. Today, he's dedicated to not only building on his own success, but also helping others who are in the same position he remembers being in. He guides aspiring entrepreneurs to clarify their vision, invest in themselves, and achieve their biggest goals by going all in. Jefferson Rogers, are you ready to share the miracle of you with the imagination?
I'm ready, Vince. Let's go.
All right, I'm excited. Thanks for joining me today. I love your story. As I was researching who you are and what you're bringing to the world right now, the last 4 years has been, I'm sure, a roller coaster, but also a rocket ride, hasn't it?
It sure has. Yep. I got a lot of cool stories to tell from how fast it's all happened.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear them. Could you share a little bit more about who you are, Jefferson, and what you're doing in the world?
Absolutely. So I'm from a small little town of about 100,000 people in southern Utah called St. George. And I was born and raised here. I moved away for about 10 years to go to school in Arizona. And now I've been back for a couple of years and started my business here over the last 4 years. And I got 3 little brothers that all work with me. My mom works with me as well. And I've gone through a lot. I've got a lot of different things that I've tried and done well at some, not done so well at others. My dad was a firefighter as I grew up. I think he got on the fire department when I was 5 or 6 years old. And he was also a contractor. So I had an example of a very hardworking father and a really just a hero. He was an American hero, firefighter, and he was even in like the firefighter calendars. And then he, on his days off, he would come home and we would build houses. So since a very young age, I got started doing construction and learning about the importance of hard work and attention to detail. And today I've been running my replacement window business for 4 years, and we went from zero to now producing over $30 million in sales in the past 4 years. And we've got some really big goals for the future to, within the next 7 years, to have reached 1 year in sales totaling $200 million.
Awesome. It sounds like a great goal, and you're an American success story for sure. Could you share a little bit about broke, directionless, and irresponsible? And what was the wake-up call that got your attention to really dive into changing your life?
Yeah. Well, in 2017, I had done the only thing that I knew how to do to try and change my circumstances, which was move away from my current circumstances. I lived in Arizona at the time, and the group of friends that I was hanging out with at that time was just not the best example of success. And for the things that I wanted to try and do with my life, I just kept repeating these same patterns that I had done since I was a kid. I had moved away from home to get away from those. And then because I hadn't developed the discipline yet, I just kind of fell back in with a different group of people doing a very similar types of bad habits. So I moved away again, and, I still hadn't developed the discipline. And so I kind of started getting back into the same habits, drinking daily, smoking weed daily. And I had a great career doing sales, but I was so distracted by the addictions that, in 2017, I made about $75,000. And I was, for all the commitments that I had and having a family of a wife and 3 kids, there's a lot worse situations, but we were pretty much broke, and it was all on me to go out there and make it happen. And in September of 2017 was that rock bottom that I'm talking about. I'd hit a lot of lows in my life, but this was one of these moments that it could have ended a lot worse. It was an entire day's worth of drinking. Started out in the morning golfing, ended at a concert, and getting in a fight, driving away in my vehicle and getting chased by security and police, and ditching the vehicle on the side of the road and running, and ended up, not going to jail that night, but paying the consequences for it later. And thank goodness I didn't run a barricade or didn't run anybody over. These were all things that were very likely to have happened that night that, for whatever, God had some different plans for me. And I ended up getting away with a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have got away with. And the next morning I was supposed to be at a birthday party with my son, and that car that got impounded was the car that we were supposed to take all the kids there with. And, the shame and the example that I was being to my family, my wife and kids and my brothers was, it was not something that I wanted to do anymore. So that was that low point, and all the shame that came with that. And then there was a series of events after that kind of started planting some seeds and helping me moving in the right direction. And I can share a little bit more about that part of the story as well.
Could you tell us about that moment, or if you can remember it, where it was like, wow, life's got to be different than this. There's got to be more. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah. I've, over the years, it's not like it was just one moment that I thought that. Since I was a young man, starting at like 13 or 14 years old, when I started smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol and smoking weed, I always knew that this was going to take me down a path and keep me hanging out with a certain group of people that was probably not going to get me very far. But, whether it was me medicating and avoiding some of the responsibilities as the oldest brother, and, having a mother and father that were a very good example, or it was just, me with lack of direction, it was, constantly on my mind about, this doesn't align with who I am and who I was taught to be and who I know that I'm meant to be. So, years and years and years of this, and the guilt that comes with it, and the shame, and keeping it quiet and keeping it to myself and not ever admitting that I had a problem, it always was at a point where I was ready to change, but I didn't know how to change. And I was scared to death of what my life would look like without all of these things that I thought, my life revolved around. And that, there's things that I love to do, like drinking and, things that I love to do, like dancing and karaoke, that I never thought that I would be able to do without drinking. So it was scary. And it was, it took a lot, and it took a long time for me to get to that place, but I was finally able to overcome it.
Why do you think we are so scared to change? Why do you think we're so scared to step into the unknown? Because it's something different for us. So it's the unknown, but we know it's better for us. Why do you think we're scared to do that?
You know what? We've got just this sense that if we stay where we are, we know the results that we're going to get. We've been doing it for so long. We know that there's very little variation of the results that we're going to get on a day-to-day basis. And on the other side of those decisions to make changes are a lot of uncertainty and discomfort. And, our natural tendency is to just avoid those things at all costs.
When you were younger, it sounds like you were all in, but just in a direction or with a vector that wasn't working for you. How did you first of all change your vector, and then notice that you could bring the all in of the past to grow and expand?
You know what? I think it started by having somebody that had overcome something as bad or worse than I was trying to overcome. And that person for me was Grant Cardone. He had reached a very high level of success. And the way that he tells his story was he was addicted to drugs. And for many, many years, he spun his wheels, didn't know how to change either, kept hanging out with the wrong people, and knew he was capable of doing big things with his life. But until he was able to make those changes, he was never able to focus on the positivity and the growth in his life. So it was a little bit of self-awareness, plus the exposure and belief that you get from somebody else who has accomplished something similar. And then, as I started down that path and realized that, all of this addictive behavior that I have can be used and harnessed for positivity and for growth and for making an impact, I started just really tapping into that and talking about it. And, that's what I used to hype myself up. So it was, a lot of years of gaining awareness and perspective, and then being exposed to people that had done it before. And then once I made the change, and once I made the decision, admitted that I had a problem, and went all in on myself and my family and my business and my personal development, it's been a little over 4 years now since I've been sober. And it doesn't seem like it's been that difficult, just because I've been so laser focused on becoming a better version of myself and becoming the best father and husband I can possibly be, and creating something special and building a legacy.
One of the things that I got as you were sharing that story is that, unlike many people in the world, you actually realized that there was a lot of gifts in your experiences, and a lot of gifts in even the addiction. There was gifts in it for you. You learned from them, you grew from them, but you also tapped into the energy of it. Where did that knowledge or understanding come from?
I think maybe that it was just a tool that I had made up in my own head. I can't remember if I heard it somewhere or if I just started rehearsing it and telling myself that that's what I was going to use. Because it's, if you think about it, it's extremely relevant. There's all this same addictive behavior that we have to get caught up in things that are destructive in our life, there's some people that have these same addictions, or the addictive behavior, that never take a drink, that never smoke weed, that never have a cigarette. And they just focus so hard on these other areas of their life. So now, after a lot of reflection and seeing other people kind of embody this without even realizing it, I think that there was just some point that I realized that I'd been so focused on all the addictions and making sure that I was medicated and not having to deal with all of the responsibility of being a father and a husband and a brother and living up to my potential, that when I focused it and saw how hard I would go and how the distances that I would go and the pain that I would put myself through and the long hours that I would work, it was all that the same type of energy. I just refocused it on something else.
And, I want the imagination to hear this, because each and every one of us have things in our past that we might believe we were a victim of. We might believe that we had no choice. We might believe that, oh, that was a bad thing and I just got to push it back and forget about it. But there's so much that we can take from that. I mean, you have an understanding, first of all, of addiction and what it feels like to know you need to claw your way back up. And now you've learned how to do that. So many things that you learned on this journey is now helping you with going all in. So could you share what you've learned in that kind of stepwise that you're sharing with other people now to help them on that journey?
Yeah. So I had a pretty cool realization that for me to be able to explain the things that I've done and how I've accomplished what I've done, I broke down and turned all in into an acronym. So the first one is association. So, one of the first things I talked about was the big thing that helped me start this process of getting out of addiction and changing my habits was the association to somebody else who had done it. And in my case, it was Grant Cardone. I was sitting there in the field. I was supposed to be out knocking doors. I've been in the sales industry for the past almost 8 years, and I got started in door to door. So one of the hardest things about door to door is that you get out to the field, and it's not hard to go hit your first door. It's hard to get out of the damn car. So I would sit there in the street and sometimes at the church or wherever I was going to park, and I'd flip through Facebook. And, sometimes I would sit there for a couple hours and never even get out of the car. But on this particular day, I had an ad come across the screen for Grant Cardone's mentor program. And it was $1,100 to join this mentor program. And, it just, for whatever reason, it was the right message at the right time. It was the right offer. And I thought that mentor program could help me. So I spent I called my wife and told her that I was about to take the last $1,100 we had in our bank account, spend it on this mentor program, because something had to change. And I think this guy can help me. So that association to Grant Cardone and his mentor program, and the accountability that mentor program created in my life for daily check-ins, and the tasks that he had kind of set out for us to do, that were just very simple tasks. And they're all very common sense, simple success principles. But without the accountability and the system to be a part of, it was very hard for me, and still took me a couple months to actually start doing it consistently. And then the second one is learning. So not only was I associated with Grant Cardone and that mentor group, but I was starting now to learn and embody the things that I was learning from Grant Cardone and those other people, that some were at a much, much higher level of success than I was. And I remember a couple of circumstances where I had met some of these people and started to kind of learn how they operated and learn how they treated people and how they conducted business and how they just kind of presented themselves and the confidence that they had. So all those things directly reflected the way that I started to show up and present myself, and the confidence that I had, and the way that I wanted to learn how to treat people. And then that goes right into leadership. At that point in my life, I had never worked really closely with anybody to develop myself as a leader. I was the leader of my household, wife and 3 kids, and the oldest of 3 brothers. So I had a pretty good starting point, but I was pretty rough around the edges. And I remember early on in sales trying to work with new people and just being so impatient and, never listening, and always the one talking and just like telling people what to do and what I thought that they needed to do with their lives, and defeated the purpose most of the time early on. And just started to really see the importance, after working with some incredible world-class leaders, about listening and not talking so much, and being empathetic with people's situations, and trying to offer more value than you're asking from somebody. And then investing was the I in the acronym. Investing, to me, a lot of people would think about investing in real estate or investing in, a startup business. And I love that kind of stuff too. But for me, the most important thing early, and what I tell all of my people as they start making some big money, more money than they've ever made in their lives before, is before you go start investing in real estate or investing in a startup business, you need to go invest in yourself. Because for you to be able to duplicate this now, and to have something that you can keep coming back to, in a set of skills and abilities that you've developed because of the investment that you put into yourself, you've got to spend money on it. And I've spent as much or more money in the past 4 years than anybody I know on developing myself and doing coaching, consulting, mentoring, and going to boot camps and conferences and workshops. Because I got to see early on how valuable that was to me, to surround myself with good people, for one, but then also just have been so hungry for knowledge since then, and a different perspective to change the way that I think and the things that I was taught, and surround myself with people that think at a much higher level. And then the last one was never give up. So there was times in my life, when I was broke and I was living on a friend's couch, living on my little brother's couch. They were supporting me. Didn't have a driver's license for 6.5 years, and just one thing after the other that, a lot of people would have used as an excuse to just go further down that path and give up on themselves and play the pity game. But I kept pushing, and I knew that I was capable of doing great things, and I wanted to live up to my potential. I wanted to be a great example to my brothers and my mom and dad and my wife and kids. And I never gave up. And I still got a long ways to go in my eyes, but I've been going hard, and I went all in on myself over the past 4 years. And I've been able to go from, making 75 grand a year to making a 7-figure income. And it's, I think it's possible for anybody to do that if they have some of these principles that they can apply to their life, and a little bit of accountability and direction to help them get there.
I want to piggyback on a couple of things that you said. First of all, investing in yourself. Even Warren Buffett says the best investment that you can make is one in yourself. And that comes from definitely probably the best investor out there when it comes to investing in other things, other people, and to never give up. One of my mentors shared on my journey that we all give up usually right before something's going to happen for us. Mm-hmm. We take it right to the edge, and then there's just something that pulls us back. So all of the acronym of all in was so powerful, and thank you for sharing that. So you've learned the system, you've had some great mentors, you went through some really great workshops, and you realized that my journey was something that I could share with others. Can you share some of the successes that the people that work with you now have had with All In?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of developing my company over the past 4 years is the success stories that have come out of it, and bringing people into the company that, they come from all walks of life. And realistically, I've only ever had people start with my company that had a background in sales. just a handful of times. Everybody else came from restaurants, construction, working some medical job for $15 an hour. And we have a cool training system that we can get them into to start to teach them some of these principles, where they can go from making $15 to $20 an hour to, these guys sometimes are making 30 grand a month. I've got guys that are in the mid six figures that is, coming from a background of construction that had never broke $40,000 before. And for them to have that possible for them, it takes an incredible set of circumstances. And it's just proof to me over and over that these simple principles, no matter who they're taught by, if they're taught the right way, and if these people are nurtured and they have the belief built up in them that this is possible for them. I've seen it happen in so many different cases by the most unassuming people. And it's just incredible to be a part of.
One of the things that I've learned through my experiences before starting Imagine Miracles and other opportunities that I've had in life is, somebody can make more money. You can learn to make more money, but to continuously make more money takes a change in you. What kind of change do you see in people that they start stepping into being able to first of all believe in themselves, second of all maintain that belief?
I think a lot of it comes from the training and the preparation to kind of add on top of those other things. Because right now in this market, even if, with all things considered, over the last couple of years, with there's been a lot of crazy things that have happened, but the market is still in a place right now where somebody without a lot of effort or a lot of skills or abilities can go out and make a lot of money. And there's, it's never been easier to make money. So what I try and teach my guys is, these principles, these skills, the time that you spend on investing in yourself and training and developing your craft are going to set you up for having success no matter what the economy looks like. I was just at a conference a few days ago at this mortgage conference. And these guys for the past couple of years have just been raking in the money. They didn't even have to try. People were just coming out of the woodwork to give them business. And I can assume that a lot of these guys didn't do the extra work. They didn't do the personal development. They didn't spend the extra time on themselves to develop their skills and abilities, or to build relationships and go out there and nurture and set up follow-up systems and all these things that world-class salespeople train and develop themselves to do. So when things start to get tough in the marketplace and the economy isn't as good as it is right now, those are the people that are going to struggle the most. And I want to set my people up, whether they stay with me or they go somewhere else, that no matter what the economy is, no matter what the company, what the circumstances, they now have the skills and abilities and the habits that they've developed over the time working with me, that they can go anywhere and be successful.
Believe it or not, Jefferson, we're almost out of time here. So I want to give you an opportunity to share a piece of guidance that you want to make sure that everyone that's listening to this podcast takes away.
Oh man, I got so many of those. It's hard to choose one. I would say one of the ones that's been on the radar for me a lot lately as a leader and a business owner and an entrepreneur has been the difficult conversations. There's a book called Crucial Conversations that really struck a chord with me because of some of the challenges that I've had over the years and the things that I see other people deal with on a daily basis that keep people from sometimes moving forward with relationships or being able to overcome challenging things in their lives. And that simply just comes down to being able to have difficult conversations when they need to be had and not letting those things fester and grow and get worse. So if I had a piece of advice for everybody, I would say the next time one of those conversations comes up, start writing down a couple of bullet points and a couple of things that are going to help you get through that conversation. Try and keep the emotion out of it and just start with that first one and watch how it starts to affect your life and your ability to to move forward, to overcome challenges, to patch up relationships, and how that translates into every other area of your life.
Excellent advice. Could you share how people can get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Absolutely, Vince. Well, I would say that the main way to get a hold of me is through Instagram. I don't spend a lot of time scrolling through Instagram, but that is one of the main channels that people reach out to me and ask for advice and inquire about my consulting and things. So at Jefferson K. Rogers, there's no D in there, just Rogers. And then you can find me on my website also. I got some really cool content, leads to all the other platforms, including the podcast at jeffersonkrogers.com. And I got a book coming out soon. I got an event later this year in September that we've got some details on the website about, the all-in event where change is not negotiable.
And I'll make sure all that information is available on Jefferson's show page. Just go to themiracleu.com, look for his episode, and all that information will be available. Jefferson, thanks for sharing your understanding of what it takes to move into a different segment of life in a way that supports you and the people around you. And thank you for sharing your story. I know that each and every story relates to so many different people, and I know that your story relates to a lot of them. So thank you for sharing it.
Thank you for having me on, Vince.
You're so welcome. On behalf of my wife and business partner, Mary, and the entire team here at Imagine Miracles, we want to wish each and every one of you a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleu.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 Mind Awakening Steps Toward Your Unique Purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleu.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.